Okay, hello and welcome, and in this video we are going to create a terrain. So we're going to go ahead, open up Blender, click General, and we're going to delete the starting cube from the scene and go to Add Mesh Grid, which you'll find near the bottom here. When that loads up, we don't want to click off the object because we want to be able to click Add Grid down here and change some of the properties. If we click off the object, we will lose this option and we'll have to delete and bring it back. So we're going to click on that little window that says Add Grid. It's going to bring this pop-up menu up, and we're going to subdivide the X and Y planes from 10 to 100. So to show you what that looks like, if I click over on this right hand side, there is the wireframe button, and you'll see we have 100 faces on this grid. If I change the X subdivide by 100, push enter, you'll see that it will increase the amount of faces, and now I have 1,000. We're also going to increase the size to about 10. We are going to increase it to 10, and from here we now have a plane that we can now start to shape and form. Just to move some distractions out of the view, I'm going to take this light and I'm going to hide it. Same with the camera. Now what we're going to do is we are going to switch to the Sculpting tab, and you'll see our plane is here. Now one of the things that I do want to talk about, so now what we're going to do is switch to the Sculpting tab. And as you can see, we've gone onto here, but for some reason the tools have not loaded. So if that happens, you're going to click on Object Mode and go to Sculpt Mode, and this will trigger all of the tools to appear. Now, this may look slightly different for you. You may be using an older version, which say Blender 2.9, and if you're using that, we're going to make a separate video for that particular version. What I'm going to try and do though is stay true to the tools that are used. So the same tools, I'll try and use the same tools that we use that would be used in that version. The layout is slightly different, so all the tools will appear on this side in there, although they do have similar looking icons, and they utilise the same sort of colours. So the first thing we're going to do is use Draw. In 2.9 this is going to be the sort of top button on here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the gimbal again just to rotate and move, so don't forget that. I'm going to draw two arms coming away from each other. So I'm going to start about here, and I'm just going to draw a line across there and a line across here. Now what happens is the more I draw, the higher a certain point is going to get. To undo, push Ctrl Z. Okay, and what I'm going to do on this to begin with is draw two arms and legs, like each arm is a sort of stick figure, and that they're sort of conjoined at the head. Okay, so it's going to sort of join them up. Okay, and then at the back I'm just going to add a little bit of one there, maybe a little bit here, so on, just to break up the repetition. And from here I'm just going to go over this a little bit more, just to bring out this range, this part at the back. My peak of my mountain is sort of going to be in this corner, so we sort of need to build that up a little bit. Okay, and obviously we want it to get smaller as we go further down, so we're going to do less at the ends as we go further down. And as you can see, we're starting to get that form. It doesn't look quite natural, it looks a bit rounded, but we'll deal with that in a bit. Now if I wanted to change the brush, I can change the radius here, so I can change the size. So if I want to make the whole thing bigger, I can do that. Ctrl Z is undo, remember. And if I wanted, I can increase the strength as well, which will make it more firm. And obviously I can weaken the strength, which will soften the amount of impact that it has, to the point where you can barely notice it happening. But it is happening. Okay, so if I click and drag on that, we can also on here click a minus. You may need to go to the panel to the right and click subtract on your version, and then you can push back into the mountain as well. So you don't just have to go upwards, we can also push these in and down. So we just increase the strength back to 0.5, and I'll show you that sort of happening. There you go, you can sort of see there. So it may be cases where you feel, actually, you know what, I want to add in and make that lower lower that down, sort of continue with that sort of logic of decreasing the size as well. Okay, but if you do that, you're probably going to have to go all the way around and be consistent kind of with that, with this image plane. So let's just go around there. So try and follow the hills coming out as well. There we go. And so bring that there. Okay, so for now we've got it kind of working okay using draw. And now what we're going to do, I'm just going to take back to plus for when I go back to the tool, if I go back. And then in the tool set, you might need to scroll down this menu. You're going to look for grab. In fact, I'm not going to look for grab, I'm going to look for crease. It looks like this. Okay. Now, what's really important here is that by default, it's going to be on subtract. So you sort of create a groove like that. We want it the opposite way. We want to pinch the sides together. So we want the mountain to feel rugged. So to do that, I'm going to crease the peaks and the kind of ravine. It's not a ravine, is it? The spine of the mountain. Sort of follow the bits that we drew on. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point, so we kind of want a bit of definition in there. Okay, and then we're going to take the grab tool, which is here, and I'm just going to pull up the peak. I'm just going to pull them up, pull them out a little bit, resize some parts, flesh it back out, make it a bit wider again in parts. Don't want to go too wild with that because it starts looking a bit unrealistic. And we can start to pull some of these out just to inflate the body again of the mountain. And you know, this part can take quite a bit of time as you sort of reorganize this, and you know, you've got to work into this and bring it back out again, work back into it and bring it back out for that sort of realistic look. But I'm just going to sort of flesh out and widen certain parts, but we still want to feel that kind of spine, which we do. You can sort of feel that as you go around. So remember, you can use the gimbal to move here and the scroll wheel to zoom in and out if you need to. So with that done, I think that's probably as far as I'm going to take it. Remember, it's just these videos are designed for sort of 11 to 14-year-olds who's doing key stage 3 at school, so we're not going to spend hours trying to perfect and loads of detailing. And from here, what we're going to do is do some cloth simulation. Now, if you scroll down in this window here in Blender 2.9, you're going to look for a purple sort of cloth. In this one, we're going to go to, in 4.4, we're going to go to simulation, where there's a few more tools, and we're going to find the grab random cloth. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the brush size quite big, so like this. And if I click and drag slightly, you'll see that it's just going to add in. We don't want to go too far with this, okay, but we do want to bring some into it. So I'm going to slightly lower it. Maybe bring some bits up. Okay, work on the peak in a little while. And you can see that it's just adding that little bit of realism there, especially around the edges of the lower parts of the mountain, where I'd expect more of that kind of rubble and grass and things. And the top might be more flat and snowy, and therefore you can see that reflected in the geometry. And yeah, so in terms of that, I might just tweak the peak just a little bit more. So I'm going to go back to general. So scroll back up. I mean, there's other tools as well that we can add into this if we wanted to add some other bits, but let's lower the radius here. And I'm going to, I don't know why I clicked that. I didn't want that one. I want to get, I think I'm going to pinch it together a little bit. There we go, pinch. And let's just see how that goes over here. So there we go, just to get a nice little pinch point at the top here. And then I'm going to get grab, and I'm just going to pull that up a little bit more, try and get the right point. There we go. And I'm going to take that elastic grab hook, because right now what I'm doing, I'm falling into that trap of trying to perfect. So I think I'm going to try and leave it there, because equally you don't need to spend this much time as I have on that. And there we go, have it. We have a kind of cool looking mountain range using a plane, a grid, sorry, not a plane, with some basic tools in Photoshop sculpting mode. Now, if you have an error or you've made something and you think it looks horrible and you want to start again, all you've got to simply do is hide the current grid by going to the scene collection in the top right and clicking the eyeball. Then go back to layout. Just click on the empty space just to make sure that that grid is no longer active, and go to add mesh grid, and it should remember the inputs that we put before, so you'll be able to go back to sculpting and start all over again. Okay, and you can do all sorts of wild things in there. So Control Z is undo. Anyway, until next time, thank you very much, have a good day, and if you have any questions or queries, drop them in the comments below. Thank you.